Hi, this is Captain Mike here with you with another video on how I color my soap. I've went through the whole, over the years I've went through the whole art type thing of swirling soap, layering soap, adding different objects to the soap to cut it up. When you cut it up, it made it look, you know, real artsy. I've even went through the pastel solid color stuff, and currently this is how I do my soap. I have different colored threads that I add to it, and some of the threads are a different texture, a different size. In this case I added just a little bit of coral coloring to that, but that's pretty much my theme and how I do all of my soaps now. And in order to get that, we have to make colored soap. And I make this soap in these little 1-pound blocks in all kinds of colors. You know, I've already cut these out, cut them in half once and put them back in here, but this is the way I pour them. They'll come out a solid piece, and when it's soap, I cut it. So this is what we're going to discuss today, is how I do this and how I mill the soap, and what I color it with and how I make it. So let's get started on this, okay? Normally I would make 4 batches or whatever, how many batches of the same color at one time, which means that I would put all the color into the melted oils and mix it all in one great big bowl and pour it in 4 different molds. But today, just to show you the different colors and it makes a better video, we are going to pour melted oil into 4 different containers. So anyway, we're going to microwave this. I've got my sodium hydroxide mixed up in 4 little glasses so that I can pour each one into one of these containers here and mix them up separately. And so we're going to go ahead and microwave this and get ready for the next step. It took about 20 minutes in my little 700-watt microwave on low to melt this, but now there were 4 pounds of various oils in here. Some of them were hard. Coconut oil is PKR is hard, but anyway, got them melted down, and I've got it measured out in the first pot here. Now, before we start, remember your safety gloves. You're going to need them, and some safety glasses. And a good example of why you're going to need these gloves is just before I turned this camera back on, while I was getting the oil out of the microwave and poured in this can, I knocked this over full of lye, and it run all over my stainless steel table and down onto the floor. I have a cat that stays in my shop most of the time, and she probably would have been right there to see what the heck hit the floor. Not to mention my dog. He's up here with me a lot too. Make sure your pets and your children are a safe place where they can't get in your way or get to what you're doing. So with that said, let's start with making these 1-pound things of colored soap. We'll start with the oils here. I measured out 14 ounces of the oils, and I'll give you the percentages if I haven't already. And you'll take your, you can use a whisk. I just use a blender. Start your blender. Should have put the, got a little bit out of sequence. Should have put your coloring in first, but it doesn't matter. We'll get it this time. And start blending. good enough. Now, the reason that you would put your colorant powder in there first before you put your sodium hydroxide or your lye is so that you can blend it really well, get all the powder bits blended up before you put sodium hydroxide. Now, this stuff's moving kind of slow because there's no fragrant oils. Fragrant oils sometimes cause this stuff to move fast. But got it blended up, and so now we're going to pour it into this little 1 pound container. This first color we're using is just teal oxide. It's one of my favorite colors. And you'll go ahead and put it in here. Okay. And just bump it around, get the air bubbles out of it. Put the top on it, set it aside, and go to the next one. Okay, that's how I make the colored soap. Usually when I do this, I'll make a dozen different colors, and maybe 4 pounds of each. And then when it is finished turning to soap, I'll cut it in half and put it in some plastic shoe boxes and have it for later. Okay, I'm going to put this to bed and let it turn to soap. And when I come back, I'm going to show you some of the tools I use to mill the soap and kind of show you the results. I use 3 methods for milling my soap. They're all mechanical. If you want to, I'm sure you could come up with an electrically driven machine. The first thing that I used when I first started in this business was just one of these. And I like this side right here. And it's really simple. You just sit here for ever how long it takes, and you grate the soap off. You get little bits like that. We'll put them over here. They make nice little shreds. The next one that I use to make the shreds is this one. Now it comes with different of these things right here. Excuse me for not having them out. This one here makes similar to this. But just a little bit bigger. Just a little bit bigger. And if you change out the little thing right here, you get some really nice fine shreds. We'll do a couple of those. So it's entirely, what you'd like to do. All these things here do different stuff. And of course, if you cook, you already know that. I'm wasting your time. you can see, it's very, very, very nice, fine stuff right there. We'll put it over kind of well, we can get to it here. That's more better. Okay, now that's the way I make my shreds for this kind of soap right here. Okay, now the very first soap that I ever shredding, you might say, that I ever done, I done with this meat grinder right here. And the reason for that was in soap making process, you end up with a lot of soap scraps. Lots of soap scraps. Soap that you don't like the color of, soap that's an end piece, or for some reason you didn't like it. Just different things. And where I scraped the tops of all my loaves, and you'll see that later in another video, and I end up with all this soap, and it's really, really good soap. It's just mixed colors and it's mixed fragrances, but nevertheless, it's good soap. So what I would do was take all of that scrap and put it in there, and we'll use this bar. If I may, well, let's see if I can I'll find something a little smaller. Maybe, well, that won't work either. It'll take a while, but we'll do this right here. And you start cranking, whoops, and it comes on out, and when it gets through coming out, we'll get it just started, and then once we get it started, we won't do much. It's just, these videos will bore you to death. So we try to script change the, or skip the boring parts. Now, my grinder is not fully affixed to the table, so y'all don't laugh too hard when it pops off. But this is what you get. You see it coming out like that? Okay, you get that little hamburger-like stuff. I call them noodles. And as the different colors go through there, they come out this way. And I save them all. It's good soap. There's a couple of different things you can do with these noodles, and we won't get into that. There's some French mill type soap and stuff like that. But what you end up with is a pattern like this in your soap. Okay? So that's what we're after with the noodles. Now, you may not want to do this. This is the way I do my soap. I like to do it that way. If I don't like the plain colored base, which is usually this is what your base looks like, I'll add a little color to it depending on the color of the scrap. I mean the shreds or the noodles. And really, that's about all there is. You don't need to see the unboxing of that stuff. It pops out just like the soap in my earlier, just the basic soap in my earlier video. And I cut it up like that. And then I grind it. Once I grind it, I put it in these shoe boxes and I store it. And that's all there is to it. So I hope this is interesting, and I hope I didn't forget too much. If you have a suggestion or I have made a mistake, please comment below. Be adult, and appreciate if y'all would like and subscribe. Thank you.